If there is one thing that NBA fans and players alike could do without, it would be the art of flopping. In recent years, flopping has become almost an epidemic that has spread from team to team. In this video, I will be giving you my list of the top 10 biggest floppers in NBA history. What is good, you lovely people? Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to click on this video. Be sure to subscribe with those bell notifications on if you're new to the channel. That would be just lovely of you. Without further ado, let's get right into this video. At number 10, we have LeBron James. LeBron James is one of the best athletes in the world and remarkably strong when attacking the basket, which is what makes it so bizarre to see him grossly exaggerate contact on occasion. One minute he will wrap the ball up, shrug out 3 players and finish strong at the basket, and then on the defensive end he will fall to the hardwood as if he had been shot with a cannon. At around 250 pounds, LeBron is usually bigger and stronger than who he is matched up with, but it will often be that James is rolling around on the floor. In addition to this, LeBron constantly complains to the referee about any physical contact, and being the king, he will often get this way. Although he does not flop as often as many on this list, this is an area in which LeBron needs to eliminate from his game as it takes away from his greatness. Dropping in at number 9, we have Karl Malone. Karl Malone may be the second on the all-time scoring list, but he was also despised by many due to his length of time he spent on the floor trying to get a call go his way. Malone was a 260-pound power forward who wouldn't have looked out of place in the NFL, so there are not too many players that could knock him to the ground too easily. It appeared otherwise, however, as he was frequently seen tumbling to the ground upon minimal contact on the defensive end before he would beat up on players down in the post on the other end of the floor. He also had a few tricks up his sleeve, much like his partner in crime, John Stockton, and he could use these to bend rules to get calls to go his way. Actually, it all kind of makes sense considering Malone wrestled a few matches in WCW and was quite good at it. That must be why he was able to make a smooth transition to wrestling, where selling his contract is all a part of the show. At number 8, we have Shane Battier. Towards the end of his career, Battier was used solely to draw offensive fouls and knock down the occasional 3. He was good at anticipating where a player was going to go and get there first, but often he was reckless in stepping in front of defenders, and somehow no one was ever seriously injured. He would also heavily exaggerate contact a lot of the time, going down rather easily and throwing his arms out to attract attention. Battier was an elite defender and a great glue guy earlier in his career, but his role as a charge taker and his label as a flopper lost him the respect of many when he finished his career in Miami. For number 7, we have Derek Fisher. Derek Fisher is one of the more muscular point guards to play the game, but despite his strength, he would frequently heavily exaggerate any contact to get a foul. He was not the quickest of guards, so he made up for this act by as if he was getting shot when players tried to get past him. Fisher excelled at flopping when taking charges, but he would also often initiate contact on the offensive end and fall rather theoretically to the floor. It cannot be condoned, but there is no denying that Derek Fisher knew how to flop, and there are not many guards that have mastered the practice as well as him. Coming in at number 6, we have Reggie Miller. Unlike the majority of players on this list, Miller's flopping was more on the offensive end than defensive. His stick figure frame certainly helped his case, as it was believable that he could be knocked flying, and Miller was also famous for getting in the referee's ear throughout the game. It is also Miller who is responsible for jump shooters sticking their leg out to make contact, as he would frequently do this on the 3-point shots to draw fouls, when really the whistle should be going the other way. Many shooters do this now, and referees have a hard time determining which way the call should go. With Miller flopping, complaining to referees, and winding up his opponent, it meant that it would be a busy night for the referee anytime the Pacers were playing. For the number 5 spot, we have Anderson Varejao. Varejao is notoriously bad for crying to the referee when things get a bit physical in the post, and unfortunately, he will often get his way to the next trip down the court. For a player that is 6'11" and 267 pounds, he spends an awful lot of time on the deck, and this irritates other bigs to no end. His heart bounces around dramatically when a player tries to post him up, and this surely helps his case as it makes it seem like the contact is more noticeable. He does not bring a tremendous amount else to the table, making him a player that not too many respect around the league. He may often get his way now, but in the more physical 90s era, he would not have stood a chance against many of the great tough players from this period. For number 4, we have Danny Ainge. Flopping became a prominent feature of NBA games during the late 80s and early 90s. But Danny Ainge was flopping in Boston in college before it was trendy. Ainge is famous for playing hard-nosed basketball and particularly on the defensive end, but he was also famous for his theatrics when it came to physical contact. He would also complain to referees throughout the game, and this would ensure that they were watching out for any excessive contact, which of course he would then theme. All floppers on this list have watched Ainge and learned from him. For number 3, we have Manu Ginobili. Manu Ginobili was a terrific player and one who commanded a lot of respect around the league, but he was also a notorious flopper. Over his career, he had been guilty of falling over on jump shots under no contact, floating his limbs dramatically when attacking the paint, and falling down heavily under minimal contact on the defensive end. Ginobili was famously a crafty and intelligent player, and unfortunately, he was guilty of flopping to get calls that go his way, and he succeeded pretty often. For number 2, we have Bill Laimbeer, one of the Detroit Pistons' bad boys and the player whose job it was to rough players up each night. Bill was also one of the biggest floppers the NBA has seen. He was far from a fan favorite outside of Detroit due to his aggressive play, and then bizarrely he would also flop frequently. This combination of being aggressive and then exaggerating contact made him one of the most hated players of all time. But he was also highly successful and knew how to get under his opponent's skin. The Laimbeer flop became a common sight around the league, where he would hit the deck after an opponent brushed past him, and more often than not he would get the call. And finally, at the number 1 spot, we have Vlade Divac. Flopping is a common sight in today's game, and unfortunately much of it has to do with Vlade Divac. While certainly a skilled player and one that has opened the door for many international players to come in, Divac was also notorious for flopping, and some would say he turned it into an art form. When players, particularly Shaq, began to post up on the Serbian, he would suddenly fall to the floor and roll a fish out of water. Divac struggled to adjust to the fast-paced and physical side of the NBA when he entered the league, but he soon learned that by exaggerating the contact and throwing his body around, he could get calls go his way. Soon, players caught on, and flopping has since become a huge part of the game and something that is difficult to officiate. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my list of the top 10 biggest floppers in the NBA. If you agree with this list, be sure to slap a like on this video, and well, if you don't agree, still slap a like on it. It really helps. Be sure to share and drop a comment below. Remember, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe with bell notifications on. You do not want to miss a single upload, I assure you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.